King Solomon loved many foreign women and the daughter of Pharaoh, Moabites, Amorites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites, of the nations about which the Lord had said to the children of Israel, You shall not go mingle among them, and they shall not come among you. For certainly they will sway your heart and their deities. To these did Solomon cleave to love them. And he had 700 royal wives and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. And it was at the time of Solomon's old age that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not whole with the Lord, his God, like the heart of David his father. Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. Solomon did what was displeasing to the Lord, and he was not completely devoted to the Lord as was David his father. Then did Solomon build a high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, on the mountain that is before Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon. And so he did for all of his alien wives, who offered incense and slaughtered sacrifices to their deities. The Lord became angry with Solomon because his heart had digressed from the Lord, God of Israel, who had appeared to him twice, and had commanded him pertaining this matter, not to follow other gods. However, he did not keep what the Lord had commanded. The Lord said to Solomon, For as this has been with you, and you have not observed my covenant, my statutes which I have commanded you, I will surely tear the kingdom from you, and I shall give it to your servant. However, in your days I will not do this for the sake of David your father. From the hands of your son I shall tear it. I shall not tear the entire kingdom away from you. One tribe I shall grant to your son for the sake of David my servant, for the sake of Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen. The Lord raised up an adversary against Solomon, Hadad the Edomite. He was of the royal lineage in Edom. And it was when David was in Edom that Joab, the commander of the army, had gone up to bury the slain, since he had slain every male in Edom. For Joab and all of Israel remained stationed there for 6 months, till he had killed every male in Edom. Hadad fled, he and some Edomite men and of his father's servants with him, to go to Egypt, Hadad being yet a small child. They set out from Midian and came to Paran. They took men with them from Paran. They arrived in Egypt and came before Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. He granted him a home and assigned him sustenance and gave him land. Hadad pleased Pharaoh very much, so that he gave him in marriage the sister of his wife, the sister of Tachpenes, the queen. The sister of Tachpenes bore him Genubath his son, whom Tachpenes weaned in Pharaoh's house, and Genubath was in Pharaoh's house among Pharaoh's children. Hadad heard in Egypt that David slept with his fathers, and that Joab, the commander of the army, had died. Hadad said to Pharaoh, Give me leave, and I shall go to my country. Pharaoh said to him, What do you lack with me that you desire to go to your country? And he said, Nevertheless, give me leave. God raised up against him an adversary, Rezon, the son of Eliada, who had fled from Hadadezer, the king of Zobah, his master. And he assembled men around him, and he became commander over a battalion. When David slew them, and they went to Damascus and settled there, and ruled in Damascus, and he was an adversary to Israel all of Solomon's days with the evil that was caused by Hadad, and he detested Israel and ruled over Aram. Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, Ephraimite of Zeradah, whose mother's name was Zeruah, widow, he was Solomon's servant. He raised his hand against the king. This was the matter concerning which he raised his hand against the king Solomon, built up the millow and closed up the breach of the city of David his father. And the man Jeroboam was a mighty man of valor. Solomon saw this young man, that he was a diligent worker, and he appointed him in charge of all the burdens of the house of Joseph. And it came to be at that time, when Jeroboam had left Jerusalem, that Ahijah the Shilonite, the prophet, found him on the way. He was wearing a new garment, and the two of them were alone in the field, and Ahijah grasped the new garment that was upon him and tore it into 12 pieces. And he said to Jeroboam, "Take for yourself 10 pieces, and so as the Lord the God of Israel said, I shall tear the kingdom out of Solomon's hands, and I shall give you the 10 tribes. But you will have 1 tribe for my servant David's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, the city which I have chosen of all the tribes of Israel, since they have deserted me and have prostrated themselves to Ashtoreth, the goddess of Zidonians, to Chemosh, the god of Moab, and Milcom, the god of the children of Ammon. They have not walked in my ways to do what is right in my eyes, to keep my statutes and judgments, as did David his father. However, I will not take any part of the kingdom away from him, but I will make him a king all the days of his life, for the sake of David my servant, whom I chose, for he kept my commandments and my statutes. However, I will take the kingdom away from his son, and I will give it to you in 10 tribes. And his son I shall give 1 tribe, so that David my servant may have a kingdom before me in Jerusalem, the city which I chose for myself to place my name there. And I shall take you, and you shall rule over all that your soul desires, and you shall be king over Israel. And it will be, if you heed all that I shall command you, and will walk in my ways, and do what is righteous in my eyes, to keep my statutes and my commandments, as did David my servant. And I shall be with you, and build for a lasting dynasty, as I have built for David my servant, and I shall give Israel to you. And I shall afflict David's descendants because of this, but not for all times." Solomon sought to put Jeroboam to death, but Jeroboam arose and fled to Egypt, to Shishak, the king of Egypt, and remained in Egypt until Solomon's death. The rest of the events of Solomon and all that he did in his wisdom, they are assuredly written in the book of the words of Solomon. The years which Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over all Israel were 40 years. Solomon slept with his fathers and was buried in the city of David his father, and Rehoboam his son ruled in his place.